My name, of course, isn't real. Call me John. From 2008 to 2013, I was stuck in that infamous Nevada desert wasteland you all know as Area 51. My job? No, not UFOs. It was both simpler and far worse. I was recruited through a private military company, Solid Range Security. Former Marine, a couple of tours in Iraq, a spotless record, and most importantly, not a single living close relative. The perfect candidate. The selection process was brutal. Psych evaluations, 8-hour polygraph sessions, medical exams that felt like they were prepping me for eternal preservation. The questions were odd. They wanted to know how I handled stress, if I could stare at a wall for hours without losing it, whether I was afraid of confined spaces, and what I dreamed about. I lied, said I didn't dream. Guess that was the right answer. After signing a mountain of NDAs, each one promising a lifetime in federal prison for a single wrong word, they shipped me to the base. The first 6 months were laughably boring. I stood guard at perimeter posts, 12 hours under scorching sun or freezing wind. My job? Stare through binoculars at coyotes and tumbleweeds reporting the occasional car. The only entertainment was chatting with my partner, Rodriguez. We talked cars, sports, food, never work. That was the first and cardinal rule. Don't ask questions. 8 months in, when I'd perfectly settled into the routine, they moved me to internal security. It was considered a promotion, less dust, more responsibility. They gave me a new dark blue uniform and a plastic keycard with a blue stripe, level 3 clearance. That's when my world turned upside down. Instead of the desert, I was in endless white corridors, the hum of ventilation and the sterile smell of ozone. The facility went deep underground, officially 7 levels. The first 3, where I had access, were packed with labs, workshops, and server rooms. Engineers and scientists in white coats seemed detached, always rushing somewhere. They didn't even glance at security. We were part of the furniture. My job stayed mind-numbingly routine. Patrol sectors, check seals on storage doors, escort personnel. Everything by the book. Stray 2 meters off your route, report. Linger at a post for 30 seconds, report. Lose sight of your escort for a second, report. The system was designed to eliminate human error. So, when it failed, it hit like a lightning bolt. The first truly weird incident happened on level 4. By then, my clearance had been bumped to level 4, yellow keycard. Level 4 was the medical and quarantine block, a place nobody wanted to end up. One day, Thursday, I think, October 2009, an alarm blared across the base. Code Silver. That meant a biological or radiological threat. The signal came from Sector Charlie, level 4. Rodriguez and I were sent to cordon off the sector's perimeter. When we got there, the corridor was already sealed by massive blast doors. Through small windows, we saw people in full orange hazmat suits, built for extreme situations, swarming around one of the labs. Later, from snippets of conversations and the official report, we learned that one of the researchers, Dr. Evans, had taken ill. But ill wasn't the right word. According to the report, he had a sudden epileptic seizure. But a nurse we escorted later let slip to her colleague, "I've never seen a seizure like that." She wasn't kidding. Evans didn't convulse. He froze like a statue, staring at a wall, and then started talking. For about a minute, he rambled non-stop. And here's the creepy part. It wasn't just gibberish. It wasn't any known language. Our automated surveillance system ran a linguistic analysis. 0 matches. Just a stream of sounds, but with a bizarre, precise rhythm and structure, like a real but utterly alien language. Then, all his vitals, pulse, blood pressure, temperature, brain activity, flatlined simultaneously, instantly. He died on his feet before he even hit the ground. officially. An acute anaphylactic reaction to an unidentified neurotoxin. The report said Dr. Evans was working with synthetic protein compounds. But Rodriguez, who had a freakish memory for details, told me he'd seen Evans' schedule that week. No synthetics. He was cataloging geological samples brought up from the deepest levels, from the deep drilling sector, somewhere below level 7, where regular grunts like us never went. We didn't discuss it further, just filed it away. The system said it was an accident. Our job was to trust the system, right? A year later, I got another promotion out of the blue. Rodriguez was transferred to another site somewhere in Utah. I was called in by Colonel Myers, the head of base security. I'd only seen him a couple of times before. His office was Spartan, a desk, a couple of chairs, a US flag, and a massive map of the facility on the wall. The lower levels were just marked Sector 7 and Sector 8, no details. Silos, Myers said, not looking up from my file. You've got excellent metrics. Stress tolerance, 97%. Protocol compliance, 100%. You don't ask questions. That's a good trait. He finally looked at me, his eyes colorless and tired. We need someone for the level 7 control post. It's a dead-end job. No further promotions, but more responsibility than everyone else on this base combined. You in? What could I say? Yes, sir. That's how I got my red keycard, level 7 clearance. My new home was a small reinforced concrete bunker embedded in the rock at the end of the level 7 corridor. In front of me was a single door, a massive 3-meter tungsten steel airlock leading to an elevator shaft, down to what they called the well. My new partner and de facto boss was a guy named Clark. He was pushing 60, moved slowly, spoke little, and seemed to be half asleep with his eyes open. On my first day, he laid out the rules. There were only 3. First, nobody passes through the airlock without a written order, personally signed by Myers and the head of the science division, verified through 3 communication channels. Second, everything coming up from the well goes through a full decontamination and scanning cycle. 4 hours, not a second less. If the scanners detect any anomaly, biological, radiological, temporal, anything, the load is incinerated in a plasma chamber right next to the airlock. Third, the most important, Clark called it Protocol 0. On our control panel was a big red button under a plexiglass cover. If we get a code 0 alert from below, or if contact with the lower posts is lost for more than 90 seconds, Clark said in a flat, lifeless voice, we activate this protocol. It blows the support pillars and collapses the entire elevator shaft, sealing it under thousands of tons of rock and concrete, permanently. He looked at me. Understand, kid, if we do this, it doesn't matter who's down there. Scientists, security, even the president. They stay down there. Our job isn't to save them. Our job is to make sure whatever's down there never gets up here. Got it? I got it. Our months on the post were mind-numbing monotony. A handful of geologists or technicians would show up per shift, heading down in sealed capsules. Our job? Check their papers, send the elevator, and run scans when they return 10 or 12 hours later. Day in, day out. Clark stared at monitors. I flipped through dusty manuals. Soul-crushing boredom. But even in the dullest routine, there comes a moment when everything goes to hell. For us, that moment came on February 7, 2011. Night shift, around 3 a.m. A request came to bring up a geological survey team, Delta. 2 people, Drs. Adams and Shaw. They'd been studying seismic activity for nearly a day, all routine. The elevator brought their capsule to the airlock. We ran the standard procedure: external decontamination, hull check, all clean. Then things got interesting. We activated the internal scanners. Bam. Biometrics screamed. No living organisms detected. Thermal scans showed normal temperature. Geiger counters were silent. Air composition was standard nitrogen-oxygen mix. No signs of life. "Scanner glitch," I blurted out. Clark, without a word, hit the reset button. The scanners ran again. Same result, 0 life. Impossible. The capsule couldn't have come up on its own. Adams and Shaw had to have loaded and sent it. Just 20 minutes earlier, the capsule's log transmitted Adams's voice, clear as day. "Preparing for ascent. Samples collected. All clear." What the hell? Clark slowly turned his gaze from the monitor to me. His eyes held a bone-deep exhaustion. "What do we do?" I asked, a cold dread creeping in. Per protocol, if the manifest and scanner data didn't match, the object was deemed anomalous and destroyed immediately. Clark was silent for a few seconds, then picked up the direct line to Myers. He spoke quietly. "Clark, Post 7, discrepancy with Delta capsule. Scanners show 0 life. Manifest lists 2 personnel. Understood." He hung up. "We log it as a biometric scanner malfunction," he muttered, staring at the concrete wall. "Capsule goes to Gamma storage for further examination. Open airlock 3. Gamma storage was a grim, dead-end chamber where junk was sent before final disposal. Like a zombie, I punched in the commands. The automated loader, a soulless machine, grabbed the sealed capsule, supposedly containing 2 living people but registering as completely empty, and hauled it into the dark corridor. That's when it hit me. My job wasn't about protecting this from the outside world. I was protecting the outside world from this. I was a jailer, and my post was the last bastion, and I just helped cover up the fact that 2 inmates had vanished from a locked cell, or worse, turned into something our scanners couldn't recognize as life. Weeks of oppressive silence followed. Clark and I never spoke about the Delta capsule. His official log entry read, 0312, biometric scanner B7 calibration failure, system reset. 0320, operations resumed. That was it. Doctors Adams and Shaw were erased from reality, wiped out with a single pen stroke. Their names vanished from all personnel lists. Our once boring job became suffocating. The bunker air felt thick, heavy. The ventilation's hum, once unnoticeable, now sounded like a low, constant moan. Clark grew even more withdrawn. He brought a chess set to the post and played against himself for hours, switching between black and white. He never offered me a game. About a month later, some shady activity began, officially labeled technical upgrades. A team in sterile suits, people we'd never seen before, showed up with their own security detail. They didn't answer questions. They started tinkering with our well monitoring system, adding new equipment to the standard seismic, radiation, and biological sensors. The manuals called them quantum fluctuation detectors and vacuum coherence analyzers. Sounded like pure sci-fi. One engineer, a young guy, looked terrified. While checking his pass, I overheard him mutter to a colleague about measuring the echo. I didn't press. Work in the well changed drastically. No more human teams went down. All operations shifted to remote-controlled drones and massive drilling platforms. Every few days, a robotic lift delivered sealed sample containers. Our job with Clark boiled down to strict scanning protocols. And that's when things got truly bizarre. The scanners, usually reliable, started spitting out nonsense. We'd get rock samples with negative mass or ice chunks that stayed frozen at 300 degrees in the decontamination chamber. Once, a drone brought up a meter-long metal cylinder covered in unknown symbols. Spectral analysis showed it was made of an element not in the periodic table. It didn't react with any chemicals, and our strongest laser couldn't scratch it. Each anomaly followed the same protocol. Clark called Myers, Myers gave the order. We classified the object as an unstable artifact, assigned it a code, and sent it to Gamma storage, that dead-end vault where the Delta capsule had gone. It wasn't built for long-term storage. No cooling systems, no force fields, just a concrete box behind a thick steel door. Yet that's where everything unexplainable went. I started keeping a mental tally, not on paper, that'd be suicide. In 4 months, we sent 17 unstable artifacts to Gamma. I memorized dates, times, and brief descriptions. Negative mass, impossible temperatures, unknown elements. Then, in June 2011, things took a turn. Up until then, everything from the well was inanimate: rocks, ice, metal. But one day, a container came up with organic material. The scanners went berserk. High biological activity, structure unclassifiable, not animal, not plant, not fungus. The DNA analyzer just churned out endless errors. Clark, as usual, called command, but this time the order was different. Not Gamma. Isolate in Bio 4 chamber. Prepare for dissection. Bio 4 was a small lab with a thick, reinforced glass wall visible from our post. An hour later, a science team arrived. Dr. Chen, a biologist, and Dr. Williams, a physicist, both in orange extreme hazard suits. We overheard their comms through the intercom. "Commencing container dissection," Chen said, his voice flat. A robotic arm carefully opened the container. Inside was something dark, the size of a football, wet and faintly pulsing. "Organic object. Structure resembles mycelium or a slime mold colony," Chen noted. "Body temperature, 36.6 degrees Celsius. Odd, matches human. I'm seeing localized gravitational distortions," Williams added, staring at his instruments. "Weak, but they're there. This thing is warping space around itself." They decided to take a sample. The arm's needle slowly reached for the dark, wet mass. The moment it touched the surface, two things happened. First, the object contracted sharply, like it was in pain. Second, every light in our bunker, the corridor, even Bio 4, flickered and went out for a split second. When emergency lights kicked in, the object looked unchanged, but Chen was breathing heavily. "What was that?" Williams gasped. Chen replied, "I don't know. When the needle touched it, I smelled something inside my helmet. Ozone and wet earth after rain." His suit was completely sealed. The experiment was aborted. The object was resealed and, per new orders, sent to Gamma storage. We never saw Chen or Williams again. The log noted, "Planned personnel rotation." After that, Clark ditched the chessboard. He just stared at the airlock door to the well. Sometimes I thought he was listening for something. But that was just the beginning. Then came things that couldn't be chalked up to technical glitches. The comms started acting up. Not just with the well, where only drone telemetry came through, but on our level. The radio would crackle with strange static, a low white noise that sometimes carried whispers. Technicians swapped equipment, checked cables, nothing worked. The interference came and went randomly. One night during a noise session, I heard a clear word in the static. My name. Then my call sign. Silos. Not a question, not a command, just a statement. I glanced at Clark. He didn't flinch, his eyes locked on the monitor showing the Gamma storage door. The lock indicator was green, all normal. The next week, in early August, I seriously considered Protocol 0 for the first time. Another container came up. Routine, scan, call Myers, sent to Gamma. I entered the command to open the storage door. The yellow door opening light came on, but the green door open never followed. Instead, the system threw an error. Lock mechanism failure. Clark called Myers again, short conversation, then he turned to me. "Check it manually, grab the tools, I'll cover you." This was a gross protocol violation. We were never to leave the post together. but orders were orders. I suited up, grabbed a toolkit, and headed down the short corridor to the Gamma door. Clark stayed at the post, rifle ready. The door was massive, same tungsten steel as the main airlock. I opened the manual control panel and checked the contacts. Everything looked fine. I tried activating the lock directly. No response. Then I listened. From inside the storage there was a faint sound. A barely audible scrape like metal dragging on concrete, and irregular chaotic clicks. I returned to the post. "Lock's dead and there are noises inside," I reported. Clark said nothing, staring past me at the main airlock to the well. The elevator panel's red indicator was blinking, a call from below. But there were no drones, no expeditions, no people down there. The well was officially empty, yet something was calling the elevator. Clark slowly turned to me, his face ashen like a ghost. "John," he said, odd because he never used my work name. The scanners weren't lying. There was no one in the Delta capsule. They didn't just vanish. They stopped being human. Then, as if on cue, the intercom crackled to life, spitting static and a voice. High-pitched, unnatural, like a tape on fast forward, but clear. It was Dr. Adams, one of the Delta capsule's missing scientists. He said one sentence. "We've finished cataloging, ready to ascend." That chilling, distorted voice hung in the bunker air before drowning in static. The elevator's red light kept blinking insistently. The noises from Gamma storage had stopped. I braced for Clark to hit Protocol 0, but he just stood there, staring at the blinking panel. For the first time beyond his usual exhaustion, I saw something new. Anticipation mixed with dread. "Cancel the call," he rasped. I hit the cancel button. The red light flicked off, then back on. I tried again, and again. Nothing. Something down there had overridden the system. "It won't cancel," I reported. I see," Clark muttered, grabbing the direct line to Myers. His report was curt. "Clark, Post Sierra. Unauthorized elevator call from the shaft. Source unknown. Voice likely Dr. Adams. Call won't cancel. Gamma storage door locked." He listened, nodding. "Yes, sir. Understood. No moves without your order." He hung up and turned to me. "Commands aware. Orders. Sit, watch, report everything. No action without direct orders." "What about Protocol 0? I asked. "Only on Myers' order," Clark replied. "Or if I decide we're out of time. For now we wait." Thus began the longest, most terrifying 3 hours of my life. We sat in our concrete tomb, staring at the blinking red light. It pulsed like a heartbeat, something alive but malevolent, crawling up from the abyss. 20 minutes in, new weirdness started. First, the temperature. Sensors outside the airlock showed it dropping, -5, then 10, then 17 degrees Celsius. Frost formed on the steel door. The ventilation ran, but the air turned icy and clammy. Then the sounds from Gamma storage returned, not scraping but deliberate, rhythmic thuds. Every 10 seconds. Bam, silence. Bam, silence. I timed it, perfect rhythm. Clark called Myers again, reported, and got the same order. Wait. After that call, he opened his personal safe and pulled out not his standard pistol, but a massive .44 Magnum revolver. He didn't say where he got it, just set it on the control panel. By 6 a.m., as our shift neared its end, the situation was critical. The airlock door's temperature hit -40. Thick frost and icicles coated it. The thuds from Gamma grew louder, stronger. The door's status monitor flashed warnings. Pressure sensors detected deformation at the impact points. Then the elevator's blinking red light went out, replaced by a steady green. The elevator was moving. Up. "They've bypassed our controls," I muttered. Clark grabbed the phone, his call to Myers brief and clipped. I caught fragments. "Breached control? Yes. 12 minutes? What team? He slammed the receiver down. In 10 minutes, a special engineering team would arrive with orders to open Gamma's door and neutralize whatever was inside. Neutralize? With what? I asked. What about the elevator? Clark snapped. No orders on the elevator. Our job is to give them access. That's it. It was madness. Something was climbing from the abyss, hacking military systems. And Command chose this moment to crack open a vault full of other dangerous anomalies already trying to break free. It hit me. Myers wasn't solving anything. He was running an experiment pitting two unknown deadly variables against each other. And Clark and I? We were in the middle of this hellish show. Lab rats in the crossfire. The engineering team, 4 men in heavy jet black armor with no insignia, faces hidden behind dark visors, arrived. Their gear? Massive tuning fork-like devices hooked to backpack batteries. The leader, call sign Chaplin, approached Clark. His voice, cold and precise, came through our earpieces, not external speakers. Post 7, this is Chaplin. Initiating resonance procedure. Your task, keep the corridor under fire. If anything escapes Gamma before we're done, destroy it at all costs. What about the elevator? Clark asked. It'll be here in 7 minutes. That's not your concern, Chaplin cut him off. We have our orders. 2 of them set their tuning forks on either side of the Gamma door. The others stood back, holding strange weapons, short, carbine-like, but with no magazines or barrels. The thuds from inside stopped the moment they activated their devices. A low, vibrating hum filled the air, making my teeth buzz. The elevator panel showed it passing level 5, 4. The hum intensified. The steel Gamma door rippled, like it wasn't solid metal but liquid mercury. Lock pressure dropping, an engineer reported. Structural integrity at 80%. The elevator hit level 3, less than 3 minutes out. 60%, the engineer updated. Almost through. Then a call from Myers, his voice eerily calm. Post 7, Colonel Myers. New orders. Once Chaplin's team opens the door, activate Protocol 0. Clark froze. Sir, the team's still in the corridor. I know, Myers replied. They've done their job. Activate the protocol. That's an order. It clicked. The engineers were expendable. Their job wasn't to neutralize anything. It was to open the door, unleash one monster to face another. Then we'd bury it all. 40%! Lock's giving way! An engineer shouted. The hum cut off abruptly. Dead silence. Then a sound like giant fabric tearing. The Gamma door didn't open or break. It warped outward, the thick tungsten steel tearing at the edges like foil. From the gap came no light or darkness, just a blast of piercing cold, ozone, and musty dust. At that moment, the elevator arrived. The shaft doors screeched open, and the cabin was empty. Completely empty. Chaplin's team turned toward the tearing Gamma door. They didn't even raise their weapons. 2 thin, pitch-black shadows shot from the gap like lightning, moving so fast they were almost ghostly. One wrapped around Chaplin, crushing his armor like a tin can. The other slammed into the wall, carving a deep gouge in the reinforced concrete. In the torn gap, I saw darkness, and the Delta capsule, open, surrounded by all 17 unstable artifacts, arranged in perfect symmetry, faintly glowing. It all happened in seconds. Clark didn't flinch, ignoring the engineer's screams as they were dragged into the gap. He ripped open the plexiglass cover and slammed the red button. Protocol 0. A deafening siren blared. The main panel lit up. Warning! Protocol 0 activated. Sector 7 detonation in 90 seconds. The countdown began. Red lights pulsed, flooding the bunker and corridor. Then, silence. No sounds from the corridor. The engineers, Chaplin, and whatever came from Gamma were gone, swallowed by the eerie quiet. Only the torn gap and empty elevator remained. Clark ignored the corridor, turning to his computer. His fingers flew over the keys, filling out a report. No SOS, just protocol. The screen flashed. Incident code, threat, actions taken. In threat type, he typed, cascading containment breach. In actions taken, protocol 0. He worked like he had a full day, not a minute until the end. 70 seconds. I gripped my rifle, staring at the bunker's armored glass. A small white spot appeared, spreading thin cracks. The glass disintegrated silently into molecular dust under an unseen frigid force. 60 seconds. Clark finished the report, hit enter. The screen read, "Report sent, Phoenix Archive." He turned to me, calm as ever, grabbing his revolver. "John," he said casually, "behind you in the wall is Tech Panel 37 Alpha. Behind it, emergency ventilation. It leads to Level 2, an abandoned geophysics sector. Old shaft, not on new maps. Get out." 50 seconds. I stared, dumbfounded. "What about you?" "I'm the post commander, John," he said calmly. "I stay until the shift's over. That's my protocol. Follow orders." The glass cracks formed a symmetrical, chilling pattern. The bunker's temperature plummeted. My breath turned to vapor. The metal door began to warp, dark stains spreading like instant rust. 40 seconds. I scrambled to the wall behind Clark's chair, found the small panel and pried it open. My fingers, numb from cold, barely worked. A dark hole led to a rusty ladder upward. "Colonel Myers knew it'd end like this," Clark said behind me. I turned. He was calmly checking his revolver's rounds. "This wasn't an experiment, John. It was a damn disposal procedure. They couldn't destroy what was in Gamma the usual way, so they lured the thing from the well to let one monster eat the other. We're just cleaning up." 30 seconds. The glass shattered inward with a soft, eerie rustle. Icy air reeking of ozone and dust flooded in. The corridor was pitch black. I couldn't see it, but I felt it. A massive, frigid presence, like it was carved from the heart of cosmic void, hovering in the ruined sector. Its form was amorphous, ever-shifting, yet terrifyingly constant. It radiated not just cold, but an absence of warmth, draining life from everything. It had no eyes, but its gaze, countless flickering points, pierced through my suit, into my core. The gaze of an ancient, merciless predator. "Move, damn it!" Clark roared, his voice raw with panic and pain. He triggered the 20-second countdown on the detonator. Our only shot, to destroy Sector 7 with that thing inside. I, John Silos, dove into the narrow, dusty emergency shaft. From below, behind the metal door Clark had locked, came a single, desperate shot. Clark. He wasn't going down alive. Then, silence. I climbed the slick, rusted rungs in total darkness, muscles screaming. The expected explosion never came. Instead, an infernal vibration shook the rock, resonating through my bones. A silent, colossal bell. The shaft trembled like it would collapse. Sector 7 didn't explode. It vanished, as if an invisible hand tore it from reality, leaving a perfect circular void in the earth and an echo of unbearable cold. The temperature kept dropping. I climbed meter by meter on the verge of collapse. My hands bled through my gloves, lungs burned, heart pounded. Time ceased to exist. Finally, the ladder ended at a heavy metal grate, which gave way easily. I crawled into a long abandoned tunnel, the air stale and heavy. A faint light flickered in the distance. I staggered toward it for an hour. It led to an exit in a desolate, rocky ravine under a starry night sky. The air was crisp but carried a faint dust and that inexplicable cold. 5 minutes later, I heard rotor blades. A black helicopter emerged from behind the rocks, hovering silently before landing. Two tall men in black suits stepped out, their faces emotionless, eyes dark and deep. They said nothing, just waited. My freedom was a brief reprieve. The next 3 months were spent in a sterile maze of white rooms. Endless interviews with men in black became my reality. They asked the same questions over and over with icy calm. I recounted every detail until I was drained. Their faces showed no emotion. Then they laid out my new reality. Marine John Silos, Sector 7 guard, was dead, a hero killed in the line of duty. His name would be etched on a memorial plaque, his family compensated generously. I was now Robert Graham, new documents, a flawless backstory, and a fat bank account. Payment for my eternal silence. My past was erased, my future scripted, my identity replaced. The final document I signed was a deal with the devil. I agreed to oblivion, to erasing my old self, to never speak of what happened. I was to become a ghost, a living dead man. Now I live in Ashland, Oregon, a sleepy town. My quiet house sits on the edge, surrounded by dense forest. I walk those woods for hours, avoiding people. I've almost convinced myself it was a nightmare, but every time I close my eyes, I see that hovering thing, feel the infernal vibration, hear Clark's final shot. Those images and sounds are part of me. Yesterday, October 15th, 2013, I received an anonymous package. Wrapped in layers of black silk was a small magnetic chess piece. A black king with a chipped crown, the one Clark always placed on the board. My heart skipped a beat. I understood. They know. Or worse, it's someone else. Someone who knew John Silos, knew Clark, knew about Sector 7 and what happened. My illusion of safety crumbled. The game has started again, and I'm a pawn on someone else's board.